Hi, okay, so today I'm going to run through how to do a fresh install of Windows 10 on a system that's already got Windows 10 running. So in this instance you might have problems with your system and you want to install either a fresh copy or you want to save all of your documents and settings but install a new version of Windows 10. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to create an install media. So in this instance I've got a USB stick that's connected to my PC. It's an 8 gig stick, so you want a minimum of 8 gig, and then you want to go to Windows, to the Windows website and download the media creation tool. So to do that you navigate to microsoft.com, software download Windows 10, and you'll see this create Windows 10 installation media. So what we want to do is we want to download the tool. I trust it, so I'm just going to run it, but you can save it and then you can run an AV scan on it, but it's quite trustworthy. That will then get a few things ready and then you'll be able to install. So the first screen that you come to is the standard license screen, so we accept that. So the next option that you'll see is it'll ask you if you want to upgrade this PC or if you want to create the installation media. So we want to select this option here because we're going to be creating the media installation on a USB stick that is going to be bootable. So the way that we would upgrade is we would insert the USB stick and start the machine to boot from that USB device. So we click on next, select. It'll automatically detect what version you've got currently running. When you install Windows 10, you will be prompted on what version you want. So this will create a media tool where you can install all versions of Windows 10, so Home, Professional or the N version as well. We're going to select user recommended options for this PC, but obviously if you're installing it on another system you would untick the box and select whether it's 32-bit, 64-bit or both. And then the actual edition of Windows, it's just going to select Windows 10. It's going to give you all those options later. So in my instance, all my PCs are 64-bit, so I'm going to select use the recommended options for this PC, and then we move on. Now you can create an ISO file that you can burn to a DVD. That's an option if you've got a drive in your machine that you want to use. There's not many laptops, for instance, that come with a DVD drive anymore. Everything tends to be USB flash drive, so that is the option that I'm going to select, and then we're going to move forward. We're not going to give it a label. I'm happy with having it as whatever it decides it's going to give it, and then we're going to click on next. So this will take a little bit of time while it creates the installation. Once we've downloaded Windows 10, then I'll come back and we'll move on. So that's halfway through the download now. This all is based on your broadband or your internet connection speed. So if you're on a really slow connection, you might need to leave this running overnight. It depends on the speed of your connection. So once the software is downloaded, it will then go off and create the media. What I'll do is once this is finished I'll come back again and we'll get it installed onto a laptop. Okay, so that's completed. That whole process took around about 20 minutes. So once you've done that, you can safely eject your USB drive, and then we can go off and connect that onto the laptop for the installation. So to run through this demo, I'm going to be using a Dell Inspiron 15 3000 series. It's a Core i3. It's a few years old now, so it's a perfect candidate to do a fresh install of Windows 10 on. Okay, so what we want to do is we are going to insert the USB drive into the laptop. Oh, if I can get it in there. Like that. Then we're going to power it on, and you want to select your boot options. So in this instance we are going to use F12, but it may be different depending on what the manufacturer of your device is. Okay, so I've zoomed in a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to go down and pick the UEFI generic flash disk, and we're going to be installing from that. So here we are at the options. So the first thing we're going to make sure you would obviously pick the countries that you're in. For us it's the UK, and we're going to click on install now. Okay, so again this is the license terms, so we're going to read all of that detail, and we're going to accept the license terms. Okay, so do you want to upgrade or do you want to do a fresh installation? So if you're having problems with your laptop or your PC, I would really suggest installing a fresh copy. You've obviously got your backups running anyway on your old system, so you would be able to restore all of your documents and photos and music from that backup. But if you haven't got a backup, well then you're a bit stuck, I'm afraid. But so we're going to run through the fresh install. Now this has already got a version of Windows on, so what we are going to do here is you can delete everything if you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep everything apart from the installation. So just run through that again. So partition 4, it will always be your primary partition of where Windows is installed. So I'm going to delete that partition. It just takes a few seconds while it wipes everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the unallocated space to install the new version of Windows. Click on next. That will then copy all the files and get ready and do the install for us. So once that's completed, it'll restart Windows, but you don't need your USB stick in at this stage. So what I'm going to do is, while that's rebooting, I'm going to remove the USB stick and let that boot up from the drive directly. So once that's got itself ready, it'll give itself another reboot.
Hi there. I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do.
So that's it. I'm going to turn off the audio at this point because I find Cortana quite annoying. So we click on the speaker and then the mute. That'll put it on mute. The next thing you need to do is you need to run through the configuration options and select your privacy settings. And once that's completed, that will be all you need to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick our region. So yes, we're in the United Kingdom. And we're using a United Kingdom keyboard, and I've not got any additional keyboards that I want to use, so I'm going to skip that. Not got any drivers for the Ethernet, so I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to connect to the Wi-Fi. Now, if you're on your home network, you can select various options. So we're going to pick the defaults for that. We're going to move on. And now what that will do, that will download any updates that it needs to get up and running properly with all the right hardware. So we'll come back when that's finished. So this is where you create an account. Now, if you're a Microsoft fan, you can enter your Microsoft account details here. Now, what this will do, it will enable all of your account settings to sync between devices. So if you use 2 or 3 Windows PCs, all of your favorites and things like that will sync across, and various settings as well. Now, in my instance, I never do that. I always create an offline account. It will then prompt you to see if you really do want to use an offline account. So I don't want to sign in with Microsoft instead, so I'm going to say no. And we're going to create a user. Now, normally you would give it a password at this stage. It's important that you protect the security of your device. Because this is only a demo, I'm not going to create a password. So Windows will let you do that. Now the next thing that we want to do is, do you want to make Cortana your personal assistant? I don't, so I say decline. And I don't want to do more across devices with any activity history, so I am going to say no to that. I don't want to use speech recognition, so I select that option. I do want to use location-based experiences for things like weather. I don't want to be able to find my device because you need to have a Microsoft account for this. I don't want to use one, so I'm going to accept that. And I then select basic diagnostic information to send to Microsoft on system crashes. I don't want to improve handwriting capabilities because I don't intend to use it. I'm just going to use the keyboard. And I do want to get tailored experiences based on the diagnostic data. So this is things like tips and adverts and stuff. So it's up to you if you want to select no on this one. No, you won't see anything, but they'll be less relevant. In my instance, I will say yes to that. And I do want to see relevant adverts. Otherwise you just get bombarded with absolute rubbish that doesn't mean anything to you, so you might as well accept them and then switch it off using an ad blocker later. So that's pretty much it. Now Windows will run through some final setup options and then we'll boot into Windows. Now this might take a little bit of time depending on the hardware that you're reinstalling Windows on. So in my instance I'm using a Core i3 processor, so this will probably take I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And that's it. So you've now booted into Windows. Windows will go off and get whatever updates it needs. I'm going to close the browser down at this point. And then I'm going to run Windows Update to make sure that that's all happy. In the meantime, I'm just going to leave this for about 30 minutes or so while it does its thing. And then I'm going to check on its reboot status. If it needs a reboot, I'll give it a reboot, and that will then have all the correct drivers installed. So your screen graphics driver, your network port driver, USB, etc., etc. So that's really all there is to it. If you've got any questions, then please leave me a comment in the area below the video, and also don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. Thanks very much.